Sickle cell actually is something that I believe people don't have much knowledge of it. But of course, being in the medical line, I actually studied microbiology. So in the process of my learning, I got to, when we started learning about blood groups and all that, that's when we actually had a proper knowledge of it, how sickle cell affects people, and then what to do to avoid producing children who are sickle celled. And well, over the years, I have seen people who have sickle cell, how they battle with it. And you know, it's just so painful to see people going through pains that could have actually been avoided. Like if people have the knowledge of sickle cell, parents especially, or prospective parents, could actually avoid or prevent giving birth to children who are sickle cell. But then, over the years, we see that due to negligence, some people, just because of negligence, they know that their prospective partner is a carrier, but yet they go ahead and marry the person. And then at the end, you end up with a child who is sickle celled, and then, you know, it's something that you as a parent will suffer from, and then the child who is also innocent, that child will also suffer from such negligence. So I believe with the knowledge of sickle cell, we can, with the knowledge of blood groups particularly, we can avoid bringing into the world sickle cell children, because you can imagine the cost of maintaining a child who is a carrier, who is a sickle cell patient. You spend a lot of money to treat such a child as a parent, and then the child goes through pains that comes constantly from time to time. So that's basically the basic knowledge I have about sickle cell. Talking about the Mendelian law, you look at it that you can't be so sure of what number of child will come as AS, AA, or SS. Yes, of course, crossing happens, but I've heard of people actually that their first child is actually a sickle cell patient. So why can't we avoid it completely, rather than thinking, oh, my first child will come AA, or the second child will come AS, and then maybe you're thinking subsequent children will be the ones that will come as SS. It can be prevented, right? If we just take a conscious decision in avoiding that happening. So I think there should be more research into how this can happen. And then, you know, sometimes, like for some people, actually, they don't have the knowledge of sickle cell carriers and all that, like in the remote areas. I remember a doctor friend of mine, we were just discussing with him recently. He is in Zaria in their FMC there, and he complains over and over again of how they come in with sickle cell children, and he keeps complaining. But then that's because these people don't have the knowledge. So they just marry each other out of love, or just marry each other with the ignorance of their blood groups. So that with more education, more research, and then enlightenment from places to places, in fact to the remote areas, that will be very helpful to curb the issue of SS. In medicine, basically, you can't be 100% sure that this medication or this procedure is going to yield the result 100%. So as an individual, I've actually been of the opinion that something that can be prevented should rather be prevented rather than looking for a cure for it, you know. So if you know that you are a carrier, and then the partner you are going to get married to is also a carrier, why don't you stop that. Actually, I know we could come from a place of love and all that, but then you can love one another, produce a child, and then if the child is sickle cell, you see, that will bring a problem even in marriage for people. And then the child is suffering. So you see, that's a problem. But then you know you've already tested yourself and you know that you have compatibility issue. And you avoid that. You just discuss that with your partner and then you can move on. There are many people that are AA out there. So you can get another partner that you are compatible with so that you just avoid having children that are sickle cell. Otherwise, these remedies are usually not 100%. So it's a gamble. Why gamble? Why gamble when you can actually stop it? So that's what as a person I would just think about. That is just my thought about it. That why gamble instead of preventing it? Well, genetics don't know the rich or the poor. So this is something that is carried in the DNA of the person. Sickle cell is not a disease for the poor or for the rich. Anybody can have it. It might seem like it's a disease for the poor, maybe because majority of the poor are uneducated and they are not enlightened about what is going on or what they, having the knowledge of who a carrier is and who is not a carrier. So that will lead you to the place of compatibility. They don't have knowledge about that. Some people actually get into marriage without having tested themselves for their blood groups. So, and when you say the poor, you can see that the poor people, most times they are people living in the rural areas, and I think health experts also need to do more in getting into the remotest communities to speak to people, enlighten them, enlighten to sickle cells, carriers of these genetic diseases or disorder rather. So it is not based on whether you are rich or you are poor. It is based on knowledge. And when people have the right knowledge, I believe strongly that to a great level, this disease can be prevented or reduced. Personally, I think at the earliest stage of a relationship, you should ask your partner about their blood group. Before you go deep into that relationship, you should have known what your partner's blood group is. And that will be able to help you to make a decision at the early stage of the relationship before that emotion is built up. Because it's easier at the early stage of that relationship than when you've gone really deep into it. So, in fact, I will even suggest that if possible, that should be one of your first date questions. What is your blood group? And if the person doesn't know, it is best that the person check out so that you know you are sure of what you are going into. The truth is that Nigeria is actually a religious country. So, of course, many people can be very religious with things like this. I remember I heard a story of these two individuals that were about to get married. And the saddest part is the fact that both of them are actually health practitioners. One of them was actually a lab scientist, and both of them are AS. But then they decided to go ahead with the marriage. Well, as at the last time I know, they haven't given birth to children yet. But then you look at that, isn't that negligence? At the point where they begin to give birth to children, and let's say one of them is a sickle cell patient, will such a child grow up loving the parent after they actually know that this is their situation and they went into that. Or if that child come that way, what will the parents be doing? Will they say it's the devil that pushed them into having that kind of a child? Absolutely not. It's definitely not the devil. But you know, sometimes we prefer to pray things off instead of actually avoiding it. So I will plead with every single individual that it is better when we have the knowledge of something. When we have the knowledge of it, we shouldn't test God. God is not a magician. That is why He also gives us wisdom. Even in the Garden of Eden, when He created Adam and Eve, what did He say? He placed them in the garden and then He gave them a choice. He gave them a choice. He put so many vegetables there and fruits. And then He told them, this, and this you shall eat. But this one do not eat. That is God intentionally giving them the will to make a choice. But we know the repercussion when they make their wrong choice. So when we are making such choices and then we become victims, it is not on God, but it is because of our negligence. So let us stop being religious and also know that God gives us the brain so that it can function, so that we can make the right choices with it. For me, I actually know my genotype very early. When I was going to secondary school, I went for a test, general medical test actually, and then I knew about my genotype. When I was tested then, I knew I was AA. But then I didn't stop from there. I remember there was a time I was volunteering in a lab center in Abeokuta. And then I thought, let me confirm this again. So I went ahead, I went to the lab and I ran a second check. And I realized that I was still AA. So in fact, I've done it like 3 times. There was another time actually, that time I was going to the university. Yeah, that was the second time I confirmed. When I was going to the university, that's when I did the second one, before the third one, which I did by myself in the lab. So it is very good that we always have a second opinion when it comes to genotype. And so with that, you are so sure that this is your blood group, this is your genotype. You are not, because sometimes there could be errors actually in the lab. So when we have a second opinion, that will help us. And that brings me to a point where one of my friends, he told me actually that he is AS. But you know, sometimes we can be religious, and then he said he's praying that this AS changed to AA, you know. So when he prayed, after a while, he said he went for a test, and then he saw AA. Now, I like the fact that he did not stop with that. He still went to another lab to reconfirm, and then he saw that he's still an AS person. But another person will have just, well, I'm AA. And you know, interestingly, this actually helped him because he went into a relationship, and along the line, he realized that this person I'm dating is AS, and I'm also AS. How can we continue like this? We can't. That was just the end of the relationship. So that also helped him to make a decision that can help him in the future. So it is very good that we also look at a second opinion when we are running our genotype, our blood group as well.